All right, this tutorial is designed more for the calculus student who has had some experience with 3D printing or 3D design at the very least, and is familiar with a graphing calculator called Desmos. So to get there, if you're not familiar with it, we can go to desmos.com and click on Launch Calculator. From there, I've built in three functions, my f of x, my g of x, and I'm trying to limit the shading here. So this would be something that you would work on in your calculus class. What we're going to focus on here is how to get this revolved around an axis, a certain number of degrees. The first thing that we'll want to do once we have it is we'll want to clean this up, because if we export this out as an image and then try to send it out to a 3D modeling program, it's going to recognize my axes. It may also recognize some of my coordinate grid. So if I click on the wrench, I can deselect all three of these options, the grid, the X, and the Y axis. Now I've got my sliver that I want to print, or at least rotate, revolve. So I can go up here to the share button and I will click on this as an image. If I click on it once, it is going to download that image for me. Also, another way that I can do it is I can simply select the link. Now, this is what we're looking to do. We're looking to take this picture and convert it to an SVG file, so a scalable vector graphic format. You can upload the file, or like I've done, I can copy and paste that PNG file, that image file that I've just created. So I can go to click Convert File, and down on the bottom here I will see my image loading, and there we go. So if I click on it, I can see that it is quite large, but this is my image. This is what I want to go with. So now that I have that, I can open up Autodesk Fusion 360, and you can do this in Autodesk 123D Design. You can also do this in Google SketchUp. I've found Fusion 360 to be a little bit easier with the curvature. So I'm in Fusion 360. I can go to Insert and SVG, and I need to choose which plane I want to be able to set this on. I want to set it on this one here, and I'll open up the folder for my downloads, and this is my PNG file. Now the PNG file is so big we need to scale it down. We're going to take it and I'm going to scale it down to 0.05 times its original size. Okay, so if you can see here, I'm at 500 millimeters. Let me go ahead and zoom all the way in. And keep going here. And now we're talking. So I have something that is going to be about 25 millimeters, and I can choose to scale that up or down depending on what it is that I want to do with this. But for the sake of what we're doing right now, I scaled it way down, pretty small, easy for me to work with. And I've got all these points here. These are all changes of direction, different arcs, different lines that the sketch is recognizing. So once I'm done dropping this in, I'm going to go ahead and click on Stop Sketch, and now I can manipulate this. So I've got my 2D image there. I want to take this and move it. Okay. Notice that I can't move anything yet. What I need to do is I need to give it some sort of thickness. So I'm going to press pull, and I'm just going to press pull 0.1 millimeters. Now I've got something to work with. So when I go to move, I've got my icons here that I can use. Okay. And there we go. Let me go ahead and click on the top view and notice that it's not exactly about the origin. So I want to get that as close as I possibly can to that. Precision would be better. So I'm going to zoom in. And almost. So we're going to go 0.1 and see where we're at. So notice now that I'm sitting right on the origin. So that's all well and good, but this is still in 2 dimensions. I mean, it's barely in 3 dimensions. We're talking 0.1 millimeter thick. So what I can do is I can then revolve. So I'm going to select the object and I'll select the axis. There we go. And now what I do get to do is I get to determine how many degrees I want this rotated. For this particular assignment, we're going to rotate it 270 degrees. And you can see here that it takes and does a beautiful job of rotating it around the axis 270 degrees. Pretty slick. Once I'm happy with that, I can click OK. And let me take me back to the home here. And one thing that you're going to notice is that this is going right through one of the planes, and that's not going to be good for what we're trying to print. So I'm going to highlight everything, and I'm going to move, and I'm going to try to rotate this around, make it a little bit easier for me to manipulate. And go here. There we go. And notice here that I've got that shadow. What that means is that it's not on the axis itself. So I'm happy with that for now. And then I'll go back in and move it. But what I want is the ability to place this right onto the origin, or right onto the axis itself. So notice here that I'm a little bit under the axis. Go back in and go ahead and move. There we go. Let's try that. There we go. All right, so it looks good. Maybe off just a little bit, but that's okay. So the next thing that we're going to do is we are going to send it out to a 3D printer. And in Autodesk Fusion 360, I've got Mesh Mixer, which allows me to 3D print or do my STL rendering is what it's called. So I can click OK. This will send it out to Mesh Mixer. And looking at it here, I've got it. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to export this as Calculus Solid 270. and I'll drop it onto my desktop, click save, and just minimize this here so that way we can see it. Okay. And if I were to take this file and drop it into my 3D printer, the Airwolf 3D should be able to handle that just fine. So this is how to do it from start to finish. Hopefully this helps. Now it's time to go and explore and try something on your own.